I started out here as a trail rider. I used to come out on my horse as part of the Spring Creek Riders Trail Club. And we used to come out here. I think I probably would join back in the 1970s. So I've come out here several times, but not lately. And I knew about that Kempters owned this land, but I didn't really know a whole lot about it. I thought I'd heard about the Borglums doing something out here. And I started hearing more from the Carol Roots people about Gutzon Borglum and Solon Borglum. And Gutzon wasn't here, but his name was big. And his little brother, who was actually his secret brother in the family because of situation in their family, he started the ranch out here, little brother, Solon. And he just loved cowboys, he loved Indians, he loved horses and cattle, and this was what he wanted to do with his life, he thought. And then when he got out here, he started just sketching all the time, and the more he sketched, the more he realized that he really wanted to be an artist, and his brother was already becoming an artist out in California. So I started hearing bits and pieces of this story, but I really didn't know how much of it was really true or how much of it, what it was really all about. And so I started talking to them at the Carol Roots Museum because I do books on famous Nebraskans. I love to do books about heroes who were very historic but are now obscure. I want to talk about those people who were real true heroes, but now we don't know who they were, and we need to know those stories again because those were people that we need to honor and respect and remember. And so I started looking into that and saying, well, what do we know about Borglum? And they started telling me about what Borglum's grandchildren, they had contact with Borglum's grandchildren and with Borglum's children. And so I started backtracking that direction. And I read a biography written by his son-in-law, and I started contacting the grandchildren. And then I started doing my own research around about different things. And I found out that this was truly not just a place that I like to ride horses, but actually a very important spot, because this was the place where Gutzon Borglum saw his little brother Solon Borglum carving into the bluffs. And Gutzon was not yet a solid carver. He was basically doing painting and drawing at that time and just starting to carve. And here his little brother is carving whole huge sized Native Americans into the bluffs at St. Michael here. And he didn't know that that could be even something that would be practical. Of course it wasn't, because it's sand clay and it doesn't stay very long. But it gave him an idea that he would use many years later in the 1920s when he carved Mount Rushmore, and before that Stone Mountain down in Georgia, which he started on but didn't finish. And so he actually, we know that he came up here. We know that Gutzon came up here and saw Solon carving in the bluffs and said, Solon, you should be an artist, not a cowboy. And Solon got the idea at that point. And so I think he had already been sketching, he'd already been drawing, and that's when he started taking classes in Omaha for art classes. And 3 years later, when Gutzon came through back from Paris, Gutzon said, Solon, why don't you come out to California with me and I'll make you an artist and I'll teach you. Well, it didn't work out exactly that way, but from there Solon went from California to Connecticut to Paris and was an almost instant success in carving and sculptures, and was called the Sculptor of the Prairie in Paris, and was winning all kinds of art awards in Paris and the World's Fair and all kinds of places, long before Gutzon ever was even doing that much of that kind of stuff. So this is a real historic spot. This is where that actual carving had its inspiration, the Stone Mountain and Mount Rushmore. And I know after I wrote the book, I found a little notation in one of the books that said that Gutzon, when he started Stone Mountain down in Georgia, actually contacted Solon and said, come down here and tell me how to carve these bluffs, or carve this mountain. And so Solon went down and he said, well, it's easy. You just look at what you want to put up there and you carve away what else doesn't belong. And so I thought that was perfect. That was a great thing for him to say. And to me, that shows which one was the real starting sculptor, which one was the one that actually had a really good idea of how to carve the bluffs and how to carve stone. But both of them became very famous. They became rivals, and it became kind of a bad situation at times because they were constantly in competition with each other. But unfortunately, Solon died early after winning a great award in World War I and becoming very well known at that time. He was well known as a sculptor, but he was also well known for a lot of other things. He was a true hero. He really was. And he died early, probably as a result of his war wounds. And as a result, his brother went on to great fame, and Solon's name died out. And it's really a shame because this is where it started. Right here in Hall County over there and Buffalo County here. We're right across the line, just right on the line. And so it's just really a beautiful place. I want our kids to know that heroes can come from everywhere. And being famous doesn't mean you're a hero. And not all heroes are famous, not all famous people are heroes. But Solon was both at one time. And he was truly a great man. And we need to remember him. And I think that's important. But we can have heroes from all over Nebraska. And that's really cool for our kids to know. I think as a teacher, I was a teacher for 30 years and in Grand Island, and to me it's really important that kids know that there's a lot of stuff out here in Nebraska that a lot of people don't know about. And a lot of people, even out here in Nebraska, don't know about. And it's time to let people know more about it. We've got a lot of wonderful heroes, and that's what I enjoy doing, is writing books about famous Nebraskans. And right now I have 5 out, and we've won 15 National Book Awards. So I think we're doing okay. But we've got a whole lot more we want to write.